apologize for the slight glitch, but here we are. I am Mercy Gashegu Sembatia to bring you this afternoon's news in brief. I'll be joined by Livingstone Kawesi for sign language interpretation and translation. We'll start with what's happening in neighboring Rwanda. President Paul Kagame says his country will no longer offer refuge to people fleeing conflict in the DR. Have caused scores of refugees across the border into Rwanda. This instability has been seen in the east of the country. President Paul Kagame said this is not Rwanda's problem, and he said he is refusing that Rwanda should carry the burden. He said the rest of the world had completely missed the point when it came to Eastern DRC. The real threat to security, in his view, is what he describes as the remnants of Hutu extremist forces who tried to wipe out his Tutsi ethnic group in 1994 genocide. Rwanda is being accused of backing the M23 rebel group, which the country has always denied. The rebel group has captured swathes of territory in recent months, sending tens of thousands of refugees across the border into Rwanda. And in Nigeria, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has warned that the general election could be cancelled if nothing is done to tackle insecurity in the country. The elections are due to be held on the 25th of February. INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu said the commission was ensuring that the election personnel, materials and process have the highest level of protection, especially given the current insecurity challenges in various parts of Nigeria. He said if it was not dealt with decisively, the insecurity could ultimately culminate in the cancellation or postponement of elections in sufficient constituencies to hinder a declaration of election results and precipitate constitutional crisis. He said that this must not be allowed to happen and shall not be allowed to happen. He called for strengthening of security outfits to ensure the polls are held successfully across the country. Local media flagged 15 states likely to experience poll-related violence in the run-up to, during, and after the elections. 5 southeastern states, 4 northwestern states, Lagos, Kano, Benue, Plateau, Taraba, and Bono states were named as areas likely to witness election-related chaos. In South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa is today scheduled to convene a meeting of the National Coronavirus Command Council to discuss a new variant detected in the country this week. The new COVID subvariant, known as XBB 1.5, has also been recorded in the United States and the United Kingdom. It is an offshoot of the globally dominant Omicron COVID variant and is highly transmissible. President Ramaphosa confirmed today's meeting to local journalists and urged South Africans not to panic. South Africa recorded over 3 million COVID-19 infections at the height of the pandemic, the highest number of confirmed cases by any African country. In Brazil, former President Jair Bolsonaro has been admitted with abdominal pain to a hospital in Florida, according to his wife. It comes a day after thousands of his supporters stormed government offices in the Brazilian capital. Mr. Bolsonaro was taken to hospital near Orlando yesterday, according to reports. The former president was stabbed in 2018 and has since struggled with with abdominal pain on occasion. On Instagram yesterday, Michelle Bolsonaro confirmed that her husband was under observation due to abdominal discomfort. And still about Brazil, tens of thousands of people in Brazil have held pro-democracy rallies in angry response to the storming of Congress by ex-President Jair Bolsonaro's supporters. In the country's largest city of Sao Paulo, crowds chanted, "Mr. Bolsonaro must go to prison." About 1,500 people have been held over Sunday's riots in the capital, Brasilia. They came a week after the President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva was sworn in after October's election that divided Brazil. Last evening, the 77-year-old new leader, widely known as Lula, visited the damaged buildings of Congress, the Presidential Palace and Supreme Court, together with the country's governors, condemning the terrorist acts and vowed to punish the perpetrators. In the United States, President Joe Biden, the U.S. Justice Department is reviewing potentially classified documents found in President Joe Biden's former office at a think tank, according to the White House. About 10 of the files were discovered in a locked closet at the Penn Biden Center in Washington in November by Mr. Biden's legal team, according to his lawyer. The batch has been handed over to the National Archives. Mr. Biden's predecessor, Donald Trump, is facing a probe for taking classified files to Florida after his presidency. According to the press, the FBI is involved in the inquiry into classified documents found at the Penn Biden Center, and U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has been asked to review the papers. At least 17 people have died in clashes between supporters of the former president and security forces in southeastern Peru, according to officials. Dozens more were injured yesterday in the city of Juliaca in some of the worst violence since the ex-president Pedro Castillo was arrested last month for trying to dissolve Congress. His supporters have been protesting and blockading roads for weeks. They say new President Dina Boluarte must go and want elections. Prime Minister Alberto Otarola denounced the clashes in Juliaca, describing them as an organized attack on police. And in the world of technology, at least the first ever satellite mission launched from the United Kingdom soil has ended in failure. A jumbo jet operated by the American Virgin Orbit Company has carried out a rocket out of New Quay, Cornwall, to release its high over the Atlantic Ocean. The rocket ignited and appeared to be ascending correctly, but word then came from the company that the rocket had suffered an anomaly. The satellites it was carrying could not be released and were lost. Cosmic Girl, the carrier jet 747, returned safely to base. And finally, in the world of environment, human action to save the ozone layer has worked as hoped, and it may recover in just decades, according to the United Nations. An international agreement in 1987 to stop using the harmful chemicals that were damaging the layer has been successful, according to a major assessment. The ozone layer is a thin part of the Earth's atmosphere that absorbs most of the ultraviolet radiation from the sun. When it is depleted, this radiation can reach the surface, causing potential harm to humans and other living things. Ultraviolet rays can damage DNA and cause sunburn, increasing the long-term risk of problems such as skin cancer. Well, that brings us to the end of this afternoon's news in brief. Thank you for watching Channel 44. I remind you that we are still helping the people of Karamoja. Please send your seed to the numbers that will be availed during the services. And also, we are collecting a seed and sowing seed into Israel. Send your seed as well and be blessed by the God of Israel. Pastor Jessica Kayanja is coming up next with the Marriage Now program. Stay tuned to Channel 44. God bless you and good afternoon.